sometimes it's still the best option to use paper materials. I'm printing out the portion of the service manual that we need to swap the batteries in the F3. And I'm printing it double-sided to save paper. Okay, we got our new batteries there, and here we have an F3 that has really bad batteries. They actually started out not too bad, but very quickly they decided to change their minds. So anyways, we're gonna position the chair, how about right about here. Then we're gonna run the seat elevator all the way up. Man, this thing goes tall. Holy cow. It's pretty high up there. Oh, and someone's screwing with me. He sent me a picture of Arby's that he's eating. Gross. Now, according to this, all you need is an Allen key socket and a block key, 10mm. I don't even know what that means. But anyways, so take the covers off, no big deal. Take the back cover off. Oh, there's screws on a battery box. Okay. It wants you to disconnect the drive motors. Weird. Oh, and apparently, the battery box slides backwards. Interesting. Warning, be careful when using metal objects. Bacon factory may explode.
Warning, bacon factory may explode.
Alright, well, we just need to remove these little screws here. One on each side. Assuming I didn't put the chair too close to the wall so I can get to it. There we go. And then we can go ahead and remove this top cover here, which there's sort of these rubber things here that engage in this track. So you just kind of have to, like, really, you can just kind of grab a hold of it and pull. You're not going to break anything. And our back cover here is roughly held on with Velcro. Ah, there's those straps they were talking about. Hang on, let me turn the lights on. This is very interesting. Okay, let me, hold those. Let me get my tools and then I'll crawl onto the floor and we'll finish this up. So here we are. We've got the F3 with the top cover and the back cover removed. They are over there. They want you to turn off the breaker, so I'll do that. Next step is removing these giant hex bolts. And I've got a Harbor Freight thing here. I'm gonna guess, I think they said 6mm. Ooh, look at that. Should probably be using a 3/8 drive ratchet that has Allen sockets in it, but hey, you know, what are you gonna do? Alright, so we're gonna remove these all the way. Don't lose the washers. Okay, so we got the two here, one here, one here. Now, what they would need you to do next, according to the directions, is to remove the connectors for the drive motors. The drive motor connectors are right here, and the wires are kind of attached to the side of the chair. So there's this two little tabs that you squeeze to remove those. So basically you just squeeze these little tabs right here and then pull down. And in theory, it just unplugs. There we go. Got a little diagram on there and everything. So I'll get these two unplugged. And then I think everything else is attached to the battery box. So just kind of pull these things off to the side here. And now it says you grab these straps. At this point, with the 4 bolts removed, the manual says to grab these straps and pull the battery box back. So I'm assuming that's going to work. Yeah, so just make sure your motor connector wires don't get caught on anything. And it looks like this R-neck cable here has to come unplugged. Yeah, I don't know, I don't think the manual said that, but there's this one cable that goes into the gyroscope has got to come off. So we'll just unplug that and hang it over here. I'm just going really slow. I'm really skeptical of this design. And in the manual, it just shows this sort of like tilting back. Like that, I guess. Huh. Here's the bits of... Printer's making noise. Here's the bits of cardboard I jammed in there. And yeah, there you go. I guess now all we need to do is disconnect the batteries and swap in the new ones. And they should be group 34, 60 amp hours, yeah, group 34. Just in case you're ever wondering, when you get an Easy Lock attached to your chair, they have to drill this massive hole in the frame of the chair. And you can see down here where that hole has been very clearly drilled, and that allows the bolt for the Easy Lock to poke up through the bottom of the frame. But yeah, putting Easy Locks on these things is a pretty involved process. And as you can see, our frame is a good, what is that? That's like 3/8 steel. Not quite ½ inch, but pretty dang thick. They finally started making these things out of proper metal again. Okay, now we just need to unhook these here batteries and swap in the new ones, which are over there. Now, typically from the factory, these bolts are going to be 10mm. Unless someone screwed with it, which in this case, that has happened. Okay, 7/16 or 11mm. The batteries have been changed in here. Someone wrote the words "okay" on this battery. I don't know if that means that it's not very good, or if they're just trying to be like, yeah, it's okay. But kind of makes sense now as to why this thing... Oh wow, these connectors are not even tight. So when I got this chair, it was kind of being used as, well, just sort of for parts. It was sitting in a closet, having things removed from it as they were needed for other projects. Which is kind of a shame because it had 2 miles on it when I got it. I mean, the thing is brand new. But if the batteries were harvested for something else and these ones are put back in here because these two have different date codes. And actually, these are actually different batteries. So MK gels are all like gel batteries, but they have a few different versions of them. And these two are not the same. Interesting. Well, if that's the case, they might still be good for other projects. I think this will come all the way out of the chair because I don't feel like lifting batteries right now. It appears though this battery tray comes completely out of the chair, and it's got some other straps here on the back that look like they were supposed to be attached to something, but they're not at this point. Anyhow, basically all of our wires here, we can just kind of pull these out of the way. We've got a lot of nice clips and stuff here to hold the battery cables in place and keep them from abrasing on the side of the box, but we're just gonna pull these batteries out of here. Oops, more cardboard. I'm a crazy person. In case you're wondering, here's what the battery box assembly looks like. You've got your main power controller there on the back, your auxiliary charging port, and oh, they've got little Velcro padding on the bottom. That way it'll slide in the chair frame without doing whatever. Got a couple of straps here. I'm assuming those are supposed to connect to something, but I'm not entirely sure what at this point. So, looks like everything's reasonably clean in here. But what isn't clean are the new batteries. These things are filthy. They've been in the C500 and I've been running nuts all over the place in that chair. So I'm gonna give these a quick once over with the Lysol disinfecting wipes. Yeah, look at that. Okay, we've got these sort of cleaned up. Now, as far as positioning these batteries, when these ones were in here, which, wow, those are scraped up too. You want to make sure the terminals are closer to you, because as you can see here, these wires are pretty short, and if this was in here this way, the wires wouldn't reach. So you want to have these turned around like that. And then we just go ahead and lift these in here. There we go. And we'll go ahead and connect up our electrical connectors now. And obviously you want to verify your positive and negative. They're pretty much all the same, but there is a slight chance that your provider may have ordered batteries with terminals on the wrong side. It's happened to me before. Not with a Permobil, but with another chair. But that's a story for another day. Actually, I made a video about it. It was like 1.5 years ago. I was not in a good mood. A lot of those older videos, I was complaining about a lot of stuff. I guess you can just sort of see the progression over the years to where I'm just slowly morphing into, who cares? Pretty important. If you have star washers, it's good to use them. But there's a regular washer, then there's a lock washer, and then there's the bolt. If you do happen to have a star washer, it would be good to put in here. People don't realize that not much of the electrical power actually flows through the threads. It's the mating surface. And the lock washers actually conduct a fair amount of that power. But star washers are designed to be electrically conductive. Be really careful using a metal ratchet that you do not drop it across the top of the batteries. Not gonna have a good time. Get that good and snug. Now, it may look like I'm twisting this as hard as I can. I am not. There's sort of a feel to this. It's hard to explain exactly the amount of force, but I'm just getting them good and snug, which you shouldn't be able to remove that easily with an adjustable wrench. You should have to use a socket. So, pretty good amount of tightness. Click. Put our little rubber butt caps on here. Alright. And I think we're good to slide this back into the chair. Real quick view of the chassis on these chairs. You can see we're actually made out of a pretty good amount of steel now. And they manufacture this by using press brakes to bend this. Actually, let me grab a tape measure. I'm not quite sure where my calipers are at this exact moment in time, but I'm guessing we're 3/8. Let's see, 5/16, I believe. And they really hogged out that hole with a drill bit. Holy crap. We've still got sharp edges here. I got little metal shavings. I'm gonna grab a file and clean that up real quick, because yeah, that's gross. So glad I cleaned that out. Look at this. We've got, these are chips from that giant hole saw they used. So these, when the hole's drilled like that, it actually was not installed by Permobil, because you can order the chairs from Permobil, and there's a factory process where they make sure that hole is in the frame before they ship it out. So this was an aftermarket job, and they used a hole saw. They ran it hot with a lot of pressure, and it wasn't very sharp. You can tell by looking at the edges of this hole, you can see the scrape marks in the metal there. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Let's get this done. Slight update. These straps here that are attached to the front of the battery box are actually supposed to be attached to some fasteners up inside here, and you can see there is a screw missing right there in the middle of the screen. And that prevents this box from sliding all the way out like this. So there's that, I guess. Okay, so these little straps, I'm just sort of like leaving them on top here so they don't get tangled, but just basically shoving this thing back in the hole here. Like so. Make sure our motor connectors are not in the way, which they are a little bit. Alright, there we go. They are back in place. Let's go ahead and get our Allen bolts back in here. Get this box reattached. Oh, and before we forget, this one R-net cable that came loose. Well, it didn't come loose, I had to remove it. But it basically runs in this track right here. And plugs into the gyroscope. Boom. There we go. We'll get the rest of these bolts in. Those are all torqued to spec now. We can now reattach our motor connectors. There we go. Make sure our power and everything's tight. Make sure this wiring is sort of tucked up in here so it's not going to be all over things. Okay, that looks good. This looks good. All right. I do believe we're ready to put the covers back on. Rear cover has sort of these little hooks, and they attach around this part on the axle here. So when you're putting these on, you're basically going to clip those on both sides around those, well, axle's not the right word. Oh, and also, you're going to want to tuck these straps out of the way. You can see that's covering the charging port there. So we'll just kind of feed this down behind here, and same on this side. There we go. And then clip our cover on like that, and then there's some industrial Velcro right here and also on the circuit breaker. And just basically rotate this up into place. Make sure our wires are good, so it looks like they are. And then push the Velcro on. Then we're gonna power the thing on and make sure it's functional before we completely seal it up. Turn on our breaker, turn on the joystick, and looks like we're good. Sweet. Top cover, it has these little tracks here, and again there's these sort of rubber things. It's the end of these are rubber. It seems like you're gonna break something, but you're not. So just sort of slide it along this track, and then once you get to these rubber parts, you gotta just kind of like work it on there like that. And then these little tabs go underneath this part for the front cover. You want to push this back. There's a little thing that engages right here. And then, like I said, these want to go underneath on the front. So you may have to pop the front cover a tiny bit. And there we go. Sort of push them underneath like that. And then our screws go in here, and we're good to go. And also, just a side note, when this is lined up perfectly so the screw goes in, see this gap here? It may look like it needs to close further, but this is actually the proper position. When it is lined up and this screw will go in, you're gonna have a gap there. That's just for it. There we go. That's just how these chairs are. So if you're OCD like me and you're trying to push it closed to get that gap closed up all the way, your screw is not gonna go in. I'm gonna take these things back to storage, and then I'm gonna use my battery charger to hook up to that and see how these things respond. I'm pretty sure they might be okay for certain applications, like maybe automotive stuff or something like that. But one of them is obviously having a problem because it'll take a charge and then it just drops off completely. But anyways, got the new batteries in the chair now, so I'm gonna go ahead and plug this thing in, get it charging, and then we'll go for a rip.